Welcome back, viewers. I have a article for you here today. It is from Psychology Today, and it is called "Love is More Potent Than Political Conviction. Empathy and connection outlast fanaticism and narcissism in this dark satire." It is by M.D. Joan Intrader, and this is under narcissism. This was posted today. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this article is because one of the reasons months ago when I started this channel was to talk about the left-wing-ism of the counseling profession. And I've just used this more broadly as my political soapbox. And it's been wonderful. I think it's therapeutic. But I do want to talk about those things. So, okay, let's talk about this article. This article is about the movie One Battle After Another. I think at the Grammys or something, they gave this a bunch of awards. This movie is apparently about the period of the Weathermen, the Weather Underground, something like that. And so I've got a page here from the FBI website that talks about the Weather Underground and their bombings. Here's a picture of in which 3 Weather Underground members were killed when a bomb that they had built exploded in the basement of a townhouse. Greenwich Village, March 6th, 1970. Trying to find words. They blew themselves up making a bomb. Apparently, the Weather Underground, I've heard of them. I mean, I'm aware that they existed. It says that when the underground stepped forward, they were inspired by communist ideologies, embracing violence and crime as a way to protest the Vietnam War, racism, and left-wing aims. Our intention is to disrupt the empire, to incapacitate it, put pressure on the cracks, claimed the group's 1974 manifesto, Prairie Fire. And by the next year, the group claimed credit for 25 bombings. Let's see, many members were identified. The small numbers, guerrilla tactics helped them hide under assumed identities. 5 members were arrested in a plot to bomb a politician's office. Others were captured after 2 policemen and a Brinks driver were murdered in a botched armored car robbery in Nanuet, New York, 1981. Okay, so 25 plus bombings, murdered 2 police and a Brinks driver. Okay, that's the Weather Underground. Okay, so that's to give some context about what's being talked about in this movie. Now, I haven't seen the movie. I'm just going by the article here and what this author wrote about it. I want you to see if you can guess the bias of this writer. I imagine that as MD, she's probably a psychiatrist if she's writing on Psychology Today about narcissism. I almost wonder if there's irony there. I'm going to read some of this article. One Battle After Another, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, inspired by Thomas Pynchon's novel Vineland, is both hilarious and too close to reality. It reflects on the 1970s Weatherman era and the contemporary fight against fascism. Fascism. There's a buzzword right there. This dark satire is set in an alternate America that mimics the current secessionist and racist anxieties and serves as a primer in abnormal psychology, possibly offering insight into the political figures in our lives and exploring the nature of those who inspire optimism. So right off the bat, this Dr. Joan Intrader has told us that she's gonna be that this movie is about modern fascism, secessionism, racism in America. Okay, can you guess the political bias there? I feel like I went so much of my life not hearing the word fascism thrown around at all until like 2015, 2016, all of a sudden everything became fascism once Trump was running for office. I don't remember I grew up watching the History Channel, World War II, and it's talking about Hitler all the time on that. And I don't really remember hearing much about fascism then. I mean, obviously they're talking about it in the context of National Socialism. The Nazis were socialist. Hitler was a form of socialist. The German socialists in Germany of the Workers' Party were opposed to the other Marxist socialists who were trying to take over Germany. It was a bunch of socialists fighting socialists. Mussolini was a Marxist communist before he became the fascist. It's all socialism. Everything is social. Okay, so this story revolves around Willa Chase Infinity. I guess that's the actress. I don't want to pop up. 16-year-old daughter of drug-addicted but loving retired revolutionary named Pat Leonardo DiCaprio, Perfidia Teyana Taylor, a ruthless firebrand leader, and Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw, Sean Penn, a fierce, single-minded fascist. Oh my gosh, we've got the word fascist again there. Fascist. Please tell me there's a fascist. Gotta keep calling out the people who are fascist. Now, so the soldier guy is the fascist, but Leonardo DiCaprio's character, he's the revolutionary. How romantic. I mean, is there anything more romantic than revolutionary? Oh my gosh. I mean, when you think of communist revolutionaries, I mean, you just think of the Soviet Union and Mao's China and North Korea and Cuba. So many just marvelous successes, right? So, okay. The Marxist is a revolutionary, and the U.S. soldier is a single-minded fascist. Can you judge the bias here? Can you guess the politics of this woman? If you went to her, let's look up here, Dr. Joan Intrater would, for counseling, psychological services of some kind, as I imagine she must work in the field in some capacity, would you be able to guess her politics from this article? I wonder how many conservative bent articles are on Psychology Today. Probably not many. Probably none. Let's keep going with this article. Pat, also known as Bob, along with Perfidia and Lockjaw, drives the story forward through their impulsive, violent tendencies, creating a manic, chaotic, and explosive atmosphere. In contrast, Willa and Sensei, Benicio del Toro, offer thoughtful perspectives and safer alternatives. Years before Perfidia, the ringleader, along with Pat, a loyal follower in the group of French 75 revolutionaries. I imagine those are socialist, Marxist revolutionaries. Liberated migrants trapped at the U.S.-Mexican border, held captive by Colonel Lockjaw, a parody of the stiff upper lip white American soldier who is always ready to fire a gun, despite being a hardcore racist. He cannot control his obsession with Perfidia, who sexually humiliates him. And single-minded, he overpowers her, causing her to betray Pat, their band of revolutionaries, and abandon her infant daughter, Willa, the evil, racist, white American soldier. Oh my gosh. I have never heard of such a thing. Okay, so let's see. Migrants trapped. So a soldier in this story, I don't know the story. I don't care about this movie. Probably never watched this movie, but this is just going by how this writer is describing it. Describes these migrants, I assume, would be illegal aliens who have been lawfully stopped by this colonel. They're being liberated by terrorists, by Marxist terrorists, it sounds like. but it's liberated. They're being freed, as in they're the ones who are being wronged. That the people who I'm gonna assume here, I don't know the story, are illegally entering the country, considering it's calling them migrants trapped on the border by the U.S. military. I'm going to assume that what the revolutionaries are doing is terroristic crime. But you can see the bias that they're being framed as the good guys here, and that the soldier man is very much the bad guy. 16 years later, Pat, living off the grid, going by the name of Bob, has transformed from a 70s bomb-making expert into a paranoid pothead, constantly fearing for both his and Willa's safety. There's scant rebellious nature without perfidia. He spends his days getting high, watching the Battle of Algiers. The washed-up revolutionary serves as a clear example of someone struggling with substance abuse, paranoia, and passivity, making it unlikely for him to initiate a rebellion on his own. Terrorist attacks, rebellion. Okay, communist revolutionaries trying to blow up people in America is terrorism, not rebellion. But according to Joan Intrader, this is an inspiring rebellion. And oh, you gotta sympathize. Oh, the poor guy with his substance abuse, paranoia, and passivity. Oh, poor thing. You gotta sympathize with the terrorist bomber. She's sympathizing with the terrorist bomber and how she writes this article. This person who might be a counselor to someone. I'll scroll down the article. As Joan Intrader is a practicing psychiatrist who researches psychopathy. She taught a popular course on psychopaths in film at the New School for Social Research. I wonder if she simped for them. She was also a professor at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. And she's simping here from the Marxist terrorists in this film. So you could have a psychiatrist who simps for Marxist terrorists. Actually, there's probably a lot of psychiatrists and counselors and social workers. I mean, I could go onto Facebook groups, into liberal Facebook groups. They don't call themselves liberal. They're just therapist groups, and see all kinds of left-wing crap. But you know what? I don't feel like doing that. I've seen enough of that crap already. That's why I encourage, and I would encourage any counselors viewing this, if you are centrist or conservative, there are conservative groups on Facebook out there. Please find your people where there is sanity and people who actually care about America and upholding the law and not simping for terrorists and people who want to destroy our way of life. Let's see here. Where was I in the article? I have these little sidetracks. What would I do if I wasn't getting sidetracked while making a video? Willa, now 16, is an intelligent, beautiful, athletic, natural leader among her friends. This teenager feels her way into adulthood, mentored by her martial arts teacher, Sensei Sergio St. Carlos. Quote, the relentless protector of the community, unquote, who even creates a Latino Harriet Tubman-style underground railroad that helps move immigrants and dissidents to safety. It's no easy task. His strength is his thoughtfulness and sense of humor. I think we'd call that human trafficking and supporting terrorism or illegal immigration or something like that. Again, I don't know what's in the movie, but certainly this is framing it like helping slaves. I'm going to assume that the writer is talking about illegal aliens being helped to invade our country as being framed as freeing slaves here. Wow. Okay. I guess I should not expect to be surprised by anybody who sympathizes for Marxists. I shouldn't be surprised by anybody who sympathizes with like just pure evil, stupidity, and failure. I shouldn't be surprised by that. Lockjaw, the soldier, the evil white racist soldier man, is on the hunt for Pat Bob and Willa. Bob, totally unprepared to do battle, again panics and must locate his daughter. Frantic Bob escapes through a tunnel under the house. Sensei arranges for Willa to be whisked away from the school dance and brought to the convent housing former members of French 75, the revolutionary group that Perfidia betrayed years earlier. Bob is oblivious to how Sensei's younger followers communicate using passwords to share information. Frustrated by his failed attempts, Bob's impatience grows, prompting others to feel unsafe because of his aggressive demeanor. Bob questions, quote, who talks like that, needing a safe space. Safe spaces. Safe spaces. The terrorists need safe spaces. Lockjaw encounters Willa, who fights skillfully like her mother. However, Lockjaw is a killer, albeit an insecure and needy one. He finds himself questioning, quote, if I am a father of a mixed-race child, will I be denied membership in the Christmas Adventurers Club? Unquote. This secretive group consists of wealthy, extreme, right-wing elitists determined to rid the country of all immigrants. Unfortunately, Lockjaw learns too late that this club was not as pure as he believed. Oh my gosh. What a contrived extreme right-wing elitists. What? You want to rid the country of all immigrants? I mean, I can think of extreme left-wing elitists who want to flood the country with illegal aliens. Well, mass legal migration and mass illegal migration. I mean, anything they can do to get to while telling like white people not to reproduce and it's destroying the world because white people are evil and because of climate change and all kinds of BS like that. So, I mean, that's just kind of what the left is doing. I mean, the left is made up of left-wing Hollywood elitists and Democrat Party elitists, and they've got plenty of billionaires who are set on a racist agenda to obliterate Western society and white people and just replace us because they hate us, because they're racist. But this guy is concerned about having a mixed race child. I don't think that that's like a thing. I don't think that that's a thing that is any sort of issue amongst conservatives. I mean, that could be an issue with liberal leftists because of their obsession with racism and the hierarchies of intersectionality and that being mixed race and part white would mean being, the whiteness is evil. So, I mean, I could see a left-wing person being concerned that they wouldn't be accepted by their left-wing club because of that. I don't think that this is a thing for conservative people, but this movie sounds stupid. I mean, maybe she's just writing what's in the movie. I'm gonna guess that this is. I don't. Like, is this an exaggeration? Did whoever watched this movie? Is this an exaggeration, or is this just what the wokies who made this movie portrayed? In an early attempt to gain their favor, Lockjaw violently drove out migrant workers from Chicken Licken Frozen Food Farm, unaware that this chicken business was part of a Christmas Adventures Club venture. Without the migrants, there would be no work and consequently no profits, which was not the club's wish. When profits are on the line, institutional hypocrisy exists amongst so-called moralistic individuals and industries. Oh my gosh. Okay, so she's complaining about profits and describing this movie because you can't make profits but it's the left that wants the illegal immigrants who have to work under the table, and I suppose the neocon globalist fake conservative politicians as well. Okay. I don't expect a left-wing MD psychiatrist who thinks we're living in fascism to understand probably anything about economics, but apparently thinks that profits must be obtained through illegal aliens, that you can't make profits without paying illegal aliens. It's just so stupid. You know, if immigration law was upheld, then the businesses would have to hire American people, diverse American people, because there's legal immigrants from all sorts of countries who would like jobs too. And companies obviously can make profits hiring, companies exist by offering a wage that people are willing to work that also makes them profit. And of course, they are competing against other businesses. Capitalism is unbelievably successful and unquestionably far more successful than anything that Marxist socialist societies produce. That does not exist or require illegal immigrant underpaid labor. This is going to be a rabbit hole. Anyway, strong arming, Willa Lockjaw scrapes the inside of her cheek, placing the specimen along his in a paternity test, though Willa does not know that Lockjaw is her father at that instant. She does know how violent he is. Lockjaw orders one of his men to arrange Willa's murder. He's going to have his child murdered. However, this man has second thoughts, and he lets her escape in his car. Willa finds Bob, but does not tell him that Lockjaw is her biological father. She knows there is more to fatherhood than genes. Fathers don't normally kill their own flesh and blood to satisfy their narcissistic ambitions. Okay, Lockjaw arrived. I'm glad that this article that's supposed to be about narcissism finally has a little token mention of narcissism here. Now, I'm not getting any criteria as far as the narcissism occurring. Let's see. DSM-5 criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Grandiose sense of self-importance, preoccupied with fantasies of success, power, brilliance, beauty, belief of being special, believing they're unique, can be understood by high-status people, need for excessive admiration, sense of entitlement, interpersonally exploitative behavior, lack of empathy, envy, arrogant behaviors. Okay. The article does not bother to describe those things happening. I mean, there's not a connection here between those sorts of symptoms and this guy just kind of throws in narcissistic ambitions. Lockjaw arrived at the Christmas Adventure's secret headquarters with a disfigured face due to an unsuccessful assassination attempt by a Christmas Adventurer member, Tim Smith, who were fully aware of perfidia and the loss of money due to Lockjaw's attack on the migrants. Nonetheless, they welcomed him into the club and left him in his executive suite, where they executed him with lethal gas that seeped into the room. Narcissism can make it difficult for a person to pick up clues or pay attention to them. Lockjaw believed he was in the clear after he revealed information after perfidia to the club. And what does narcissism have to do with this guy being unsuspectingly trusting the Christmas Adventure Club was gonna secretly murder him? What is happening in this movie? So, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. Bob and Willa return to their lives. Willa plans to attend a protest against immigration enforcement crackdown in Oakland, and Bob gives Willa a letter from Perfidia expressing her remorse for her disappearance and encouraging Willa to stand up for her principles. Okay, so then you again opposing something that any functioning nation does. Regulating who is coming into the country or not. Protecting our borders. Kicking out people who aren't supposed to be, who aren't legally here. And these morons protesting it in this movie, apparently. Throughout history, society has oscillated between conflicts, engaging in one battle after another. That's deep. These cycles highlight how societal tensions can escalate when narcissistic individuals lack the capacity for reasoned thought. What? The outcomes of these struggles largely depend on the number of people who can think critically and consider others rather than just themselves. Willa and Sensei embody this ability to reflect, while the rampant narcissism of Perfidia and Lockjaw ultimately leads to their downfall. Bob will always need a Sensei and Willa, or a Willa, to feel secure enough to choose love over violence. This conclusion seems I don't know, slapped together. Just like throw in the term narcissism. This, I'm not getting any depth of this telling me about what's happening in society. This sounds like idiotic Trump derangement syndrome. Trump is a narcissist, and narcissists cause the tension in society, and so this Lockjaw guy is a representation of the evil white racist narcissist. This is what this movie is about. This is what they patted on themselves at the Grammys and gave themselves an award over while they wore their stupid pins as they celebrate fighting for the downfall of Western civilization. The outcomes of these struggles largely depend on the number of people who can think critically and consider others rather than just themselves. Yes, I do think that Marxist liberal radicals should think of others rather than just themselves. I do think terrorist bombers, whether Marxists like the Weather Underground or whether Islamists, should think of others rather than themselves. I do think this medical doctor should think more critically about politics and what's going on in our country, since the only fascism that is going on is the fascism of the socialist radical left, who want to suppress our speech, who want to erase our culture, who want to tear down statues and erase our history, who want to force transgender ideology, the mutilation of children, and push this ideology onto children, make them sex-obsessed hedonists who are sterilized, who are pushing and forcing Islam, which, I mean, Sharia law could probably be framed as fairly fascist, given that everything is to submit to Islam, that there is nothing, there would be really nothing outside of Islam if the Islamist Muslims, the true faithful, had their way. So probably a lot of similarities to fascism there. And this is what the left is wanting to subject society to. The left that thinks that the Bill of Rights and Constitution are evil documents made by evil racist white men, and would put controls, regulations on everything as they try to regulate away our gun rights. We live in an extremely free society in spite of all that the left is trying to destroy and get rid of and erase. Maybe she should think about the legal immigrants who come here, who escaped from Cuba, escaped from Venezuela, who escaped from the Soviet Union, who escaped from communist China and communist North Korea, who escaped from socialism and want a better life, and can't believe that they're coming here and finding that socialism has caught up to them here on the left. Why doesn't she critically think about how the Democratic Party is the party of like Jim Crow and the KKK and slavery and stuff like that? Why doesn't she critically think about that? Why doesn't she think about the racism of anti-racism that is just be racist to white people, be racist back, and claim that no racism can be done by any other racism? Why doesn't she think about that? I mean, every position of the left is like hypocritical and stupid. Why isn't she doing some critical thinking? She's a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, which means added training on top of that. And the reason is that because the amount of education doesn't matter. This is not an education issue. This is ideological. And people of any sort of education level, of course, people of lower IQ, less educated are going to probably be more easily manipulated by propaganda, and yet intelligent, highly educated people are also liable. Everybody is liable to propaganda. I mean, that's the purpose of propaganda. So it's not an intelligence thing. It's not an education thing, except that the educational institutions, of course, have been so co-opted by the left and have postmodernism, Marxism embedded in them, and have had these kind of things embedded in them for decades that people don't even recognize it. So probably steeped in that. The notion that conflict in the world is because of narcissists, and obviously the framing would be that the narcissism is coming from the right, not the left. Forgive me if I'm reading that into this. And the assumption here, of course, would be that that it's the do-gooder liberals who are being critical and considering of others instead of themselves. We're supposed to suicidally empathize with having our country taken over and think it's a good thing. Endless mass migration, obviously, is the goal of the left. And well, how about critical thinking about this? That it's not good for the legal migrants. It's not good for the American people who die at the hands of the illegal aliens who commit crimes here, or die at the hands of the terrorists that come here. It's not good for housing costs. It's not good for the price of things, of the people, the citizens who live here, to have more expensive housing, less housing to choose from, more expensive everything, more expensive medical care, the thing that the left champions so much that ought to be free, is more expensive because of illegals using that care. Why isn't the left concerned about this? Why aren't they concerned about the victims of these criminals? Why aren't they concerned about the fraud, about the identity theft, about the drunk driving, about all the crimes that are committed? Why aren't they concerned about these things? Why aren't they thinking critical instead of just for themselves and their ideology? This is a Psychiatrist. This is a Psychology Today article. And this is just an example of the obvious biases that exist in the counseling world. That's why conservatives are flocking to conservative groups online to find fellow peers who aren't insane. This is a mental health profession, and she thinks America is fascism. I wonder what she thinks about Iran. I wonder what she thinks about the situation in Venezuela or Cuba. While she has the freedom to write an article like this. The countless freedoms. Okay. I don't know that I've got any more thoughts on this, so I'm going to be done for now. Please like and subscribe if you like hearing my opinion about things. Come across other biased stuff. I mean, there's just endless left-wing bias everywhere in the media and everywhere in the counseling world, the therapy, mental health, psychology world. It's dominated by the left, and I hope that we can take it back to sanity, because they've lost their minds and are not living in reality. America is not a fascist state, and I think we're going to continue to fight for freedoms here in America so that the fascist, socialist, Marxists of the left don't get their way. Because before I go, I'll say, let's look at Mussolini and fascism. What does the AI tell us? It's a totalitarian, anti-democratic doctrine centered on an all-encompassing state. The state was considered absolute, having a personality and will to which individuals must submit. Okay, this is a quote regarding fascism. Everything in the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. Mussolini characterized as a religious system, prioritizing national unity, imperialism, strong national identity over individual liberty. That sounds a lot like the warm collectivism of Mamdani's socialism, right? Because in Marxist countries, in communist, socialist countries, everything in the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. That's a perfect quote for North Korea. That's a perfect quote for the Soviet Union. Probably works in Cuba. China got very capitalistic, so they've eased up there, but dissent against the government too much, and I think you get erased pretty quickly. Okay, so fascism and socialism pretty similar there in the absolute power to the state. of the state as the collective over the individual. Fascism, anti-democratic, anti-liberal. Fascism rejects democratic ideology, parliamentary systems, individual liberties, as does the Marxist left, because these are all systems that need to be overthrown, that are just entirely racist and bad and must be overthrown. That's the view of the Marxists. They'll use democracy to get into power and then do away with it. They'll use liberties for their own speech and their own gatherings and then do away with it, just as they did in communist countries. Totalitarian control is a part of Marxism, aimed at controlling all aspects of your life, politics, economy, and culture. Yeah, just like in Marxism, just like in socialism, trying to control everything. Just as the left is trying to control our thoughts, our words, our language, and censor us. Go speak out on Reddit and see how long you'll last. The Obama administration framing white people as the major threat to the nation, as domestic terrorists, and working with social media groups to censor people. Okay, nationalism as a myth. The nation was treated as a myth or faith, a passionate force intended to restore Roman grandeur and unite the country. Okay, so under Marxism, the whole world is meant to be taken over with it. Much like in Islam, the whole world is meant to be taken over by Islam. Marxist countries, the Soviet Union, again, North Korea, China, Cuba, Venezuela, these are nations that were extremely nationalistic, are extremely nationalistic. They're very nationalistic with their Marxism, while also having international goals of taking over the whole world under it. Okay. So I think there's a lot of similarity there. Violence and militarism. Mussolini, he viewed violence and war as necessary tools for national rejuvenation and eliminating political opponents like socialists. Now, of course, Mussolini, I believe, had been a communist before coming up with the fascism idea, right? Fascism being like a even more elevated version of communism, or a better version of communism. And so essentially it's Marxists at war with Marxists. And absolutely, Marxism, socialism views violence and militarism as means for taking power, for rejuvenating nations. From Hitler's socialism to the USSR trying to always compete with the U.S. militarily. The USSR was imperialistic. That's why there was a union of Soviet socialist states, because Russia took over other countries and intended to take over even more, because Russia was imperialistic. As the Marxists claim America and everybody else are imperialistic, their goal was and is the whole world to take over. So again, these similarities to fascism, and of course Marxists view violence, the bloody revolution, as absolutely a means towards overthrowing the bourgeois, those who disagree with them. So again, the similarities there. I mean, there's so many similarities between fascism. It's just another version of absolute totalitarian control, similar to Marxism and socialism. So the fight against fascism, is what the conservatives are doing against the left, because the left is all over this fascism thing. They are the fascists, they're the socialists, they're the Marxists, whatever, they're the totalitarians, and they just can't see it. They just can't see it. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I will stop now and be done. This video ended up way longer than I intended. So if you like this, please like and subscribe. I'm going to shut up and get on out of here and find some more content to talk about. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.